to the another episode of Video Geek series where we'll discuss the latest education topics to increase and enhance your knowledge. So we'll be serving off the discussion topic today is version control with GitHub. So basically we'll going to explore the GitHub and we'll probably see some theory part for version control system. So let's start. So basically the first question you may arise is that what is version control? So let's deep dive into that word. What is version control? So basically you may know the Git. What is the Git? You may be aware about the Git, but let's see what is version control and how the Git is related to version control and what is the history behind the Git. So first of all, when the developer has developing the software, they are getting aware about some technologies like there are various technologies to develop some kind of application like web application, mobile application, right? And there is some system applications also. So the main biggest question in the earliest development era was to keep track of modifications done in the code, or you can say the modifications done in the version of the system. So it was a big challenge, and people was working on that challenge. So the version control system is a software that helps to record the changes made to file by keeping track of modifications done in the code. So the solution came like version control. So Git was the first tool which was developed by Linus Torvald for managing and distribution of Linux kernel and supporting its updates. So Linus Torvald was the first person uh, you can say contribute into the problem like version control, which was the greatest you can say the problem that developer were facing at that time. But the Linus Torvald come with the solution of a Git. So Git was the first version control system software which helps developer to keep track of the modification done in the code. So they basically invented a tool which can help which can help a developer to manage their code. Like suppose they do some changes in the code and the changes will be reflected, and then there may be several peoples that go from one you can say central server, or you will be given the term like repositories. I will be sharing that term that what is the meaning in the sense of version control. But let's say there is a central system. Right now you can assume there is central system, and Linus Torvald, suppose Linus Torvald has deployed a Linux you can say Linux kernel on that central system. So what Linus, or you can say what Linus has come with the solution that in between, suppose let me draw a diagram. Suppose there is a central server and there is a tool which we have developed deployed. Suppose there is a Linux kernel deployed over here. So what Linus has told that there may be one intermediate tool between this Linus, which was the managing, let's say, Linux kernel, which was developed on this central server. Suppose Linus has populated some changes into Linux kernel. So now what he has to do? He has to tell this central version control system to reflect the changes into that server. And now suppose there may be several other peoples connecting, you can say grabbing resource from the central server. So what version control system do is version control system records the changes that Linus has reflected back into the Linux kernel. So they basically version control system keep track of each copy. Suppose the older copy was this. Let's say this was the older copy, and now Linus has modified some little bit of code, and then he repopulates the thing. So now there is a version before the changes that were made by the Linus, and now another version is released. Suppose this is the red line color is a new version. So this was the older version and this was a new version. So that's how it keeps the older copy, and it also keeps a newer copy. So now let's say a newer copy has been populated to the server. and all the clients were notified that this is a new version and you have to update. So that's how version control system came into the picture. And you might also know the which is very popular to nowadays, GitHub. So which is also a version control system, and in backend it also supports the Git, or you can say it also works on the Git. So what were the benefits of the version control? So basically it enhanced the project development speed, reduce the possibility of errors, help in recovery in case of disaster. Basically you will learn that revert command and lot more in upcoming sessions of version control system. And it also helps in record keeping. Let's say there are plenty of developers in one single software, so version control system also able to track that who has wrote this code, when and who has wrote this code, and several other questions that were also we can figure out by the version control system. So now let's quickly look at the types of the VCS, version control systems. So let's get aware, or you can say let's get to know these keywords and what they mean in terms of version control system. So let's just look at this repository. So repository, basically these keywords is very popular in version control system. So repository means a copy of software, or you can say a copy of code which is which is which is there somewhere. Suppose in my machine, or you can say suppose in some central server, there is a copy of code which is in turn referred as repository. It may be somewhere else, like it may be in workstation of different developer, it may be somewhere else also. So that's basically a copy of code, or you can say a copy of software is referred to as repository. Now local repository. So a copy of code in author's workstation. Let's say I am a owner of the code, I am a owner of the software, or you can say owner of, or you can say developer of software. So a copy of code, or you can say a copy of software which is in my local machine, which is in my local workstation, which is in turn referred as local repository. Repository means it can be at the backend server, or it can be at central system, but a local repository means it is in my native machine, my local machine. So that's a local repository and repository. Now branch. Suppose there is one software code and there are plenty of developers working on it. Suppose me and suppose let me draw a scene. Suppose this is a developer 1 and this is developer 2, and between them there is a version control system and there is a software code of, or you can say code which is shared among these two people, right? So suppose a software is a library management system, and I am working on, let's say I am working on, there is a, let's say there is a line which is development. Currently this is a development line, which means the library management software is developing. Now let's say this is a point where where we have shared code between two of us, like say developer A and developer B. They have said, they have make their copies equally. Let's say in between the they were working on some different uh, software, different feature of the same software, library management system, but they were working on some different softwares. And let's say at this point of time, this is development line. At this point of time they have shared their code and they have made their code similar. Basically they have exchanged their code, and now they have same copy of the software. And suppose they currently working on the same feature. Now they want that this person A need to work on let's say book issue feature, and this person B, let's say they need that the person B needs to work on the book return. So in turn they are different feature, right? Book issue and book return, they are different features. So what they will do from here, they will create branch, and from here the person B will create branch. This is a development line. The you can say the for whole project this is a development line, and this is a development line for developing a feature for person A. Suppose person A is working on let's say let we have discussed person A wants to work on book issue feature. So what he will do, he will create a copy of software, or you can say branch, which is not, you can say, not will conflict with this person B's branch, or not even will be conflict with the development of total software. So this is a different branch, or you can say different copy of code, which is referring to the same root of the software development line. So that is a branch. A branch basically nothing but another copy of code, or you can say uh, a whole different universe of same copy of code. So basically what is branch used for? Branch will be used by uh, remote developers. Suppose they are working on different features, so they will create a branch so that the main development line will not get affected. So that's a branch, and branch basically are nothing but a different copy of, or you can say individual copy of software. And staging area. So staging area is nothing but we'll talk about it when we will understand about the actions, when we'll demonstrate that how you can use the GitHub and how you can use the commands to manage your software, right? So basically there are different actions: push, pull, commit, and add. Or you can say there may be several other actions also, but we'll in this session we'll explore this much actions only. So push will refers to action where we have done some changes and we want to reflect back to the central system. Pull is action when we want to update our local repository from the root of the server, or you can say the central system. From the central system there may be some update, and we want to pull that changes into our local copy, so that our local copy gets updated, or you can say gets the latest copy. So pull is an action that is referred when we want to pull the changes into our local repository, and push is totally opposite, when we want to reflect back changes that is in our local repository but not in the central system. And next is commit. Commit means suppose we have done some modification and we want to record that modifications. So the commit is an action which lets the VCS, which means version control system, know that we want to record these changes. And add, so add is an action which is referred. Suppose there is a changes in 7 files, or you can say several files, and we want to record changes for only 5 files. So how we will do that? So we can use the add, or you can say we can add 5 files to be record, or you can say to be to move to in the staging area. And when we perform the commit action, so the files which are in staging area will be recorded. So changes will only be recorded when the files are into staging area. So that's basically staging area and add, and these are basic actions of any GitHub, or you can say any version control system. So that's it. So first let us know the types of the version control systems. So as we have discussed, uh, the first type is central VCS. The central VCS you can observe the figure over here, and the central VCS means each developer shares the same copy of central repository. As we have discussed, repository is a copy of code, so each developer will be sharing the same copy of the code, so which is referred as central copy, where each developer can update and commit, and only one administrator will be there which owns this repository. And second type is distributed VCS, where each developer has their own copy of project in their own repositories, but they bound to be rooted by, or you can say managed by, central repository. So this central repository will owned by only one single person, and all the developers will be having their own repository. They'll able to push, pull, commit, or you can say they'll able to manage, update all the things in their repository. But from root repository they will only be able to push and pull. They'll not get chance to commit in central repository. So that's a difference between central and distributed VCS. So now let's get the hands-on experience of the Git. So now we will demonstrate the Git, or you can say Git commands. So if you have not installed the Git, then you probably not get the output that I'm just going to show you. So first let us open the command prompt and let us type the command git hyphen hyphen version. So you will see Git version 2.33.0 and Windows.2. So if you don't get this kind of output, if you get the output like the Git is not recognized as an internal or external command, then what you can do, you can go onto any of the browser and type uh, download Git. You can see this is a Git, and you can go over here and you can download the Git. This is basically it. There are no some you can say complex steps. You just need to install it like you install any other games or any other software. So that's not I'm going to demonstrate. We assume that you have successfully configured the Git and you are ready and you are good to go. So I'll assume that you all now have the Git installed in your device. So let's start. First of all, I'll open this up in Visual Studio Code, this folder. So test folder I have opened up in this Visual Studio Code. So now what we'll do, you will first of all we'll see that how we can do the version control using Git, but using a Visual Studio Code, or you can say using GUI, the GUI of the Visual Studio Code. So if you have Git installed, then uh, you probably have this icon like source control. So source control is basically you can say a tab which helps you to get communicate with the Git. Basically you can initialize repository, you can push, you can pull, or you can perform any other actions that can be performed by commands, or you can say by using the Git, which is a version control system. So the first step that you might need to do is initialize as a local repository. So this is a folder, this is a test folder that we have opened. Let's just make a new file. Let's say what to do, let's say test.txt. This is the first file in test folder. So there is a one file test.txt in the test folder, right? So first what we need to do, we need, if we want to manage the software, suppose this in this test folder there is a software and there is a whole lot of file in this folder. Suppose there is a code, there is a software that we have written, and this test.txt file is a file that can run a software. So suppose now we want to record changes in the software. So what first action that we need to do, we need to initialize this test folder as in repository, as in local repository. So in order to do so, first we need to go in this source control, and then you can see initialize repository. So there are commands also. I'm going to demonstrate the command also, because the GUI will not get supported uh, everywhere. So commands will be the god, or you can say commands will be accepted in all over the world. So first we'll demonstrate the GUI way, and then I'll also demonstrate the code, that how you can issue the command. So first of all, you need to initialize repository. You need to initialize this test folder as in local repository. I hope you now understand what is local repository. So let's click on initialize repository. So you can see now the tab, as the tabs gets changed, so it has, suppose it is showing like changes test.txt, and if you hover over the icons, then you probably see the actions that we can perform. The first action that you can see is commit. If we click on commit, let's see what happens. So as we have seen that if there is no things, not a single file in staging area, then we cannot commit. So you can see probably the error that there are no stage changes. Would you like to stage all your changes and commit them directly? So currently we'll close this tab. So there is a changes, and the changes are reflected inside this changes tab, or you can say this changes. If you click on this drop down icon, then you can see that what are the changes. So if you hover over the icons, then also you can see different kind of actions. You can see discard all changes, stage all changes, and this is open file, this is discard changes, and this is stage changes. And this u you can see untracked. This u referred for untracked, which means this file hasn't been tracked. This is a new file in the folder, or you can say in the local repository. So what the second thing we need to do, if we want to put this file on staging area, then we need to click on this plus icon, which referred as stage changes. So let's click on this plus icon. So now you can observe the different drop down over here. Previously there was a one over here because there was one file in, or you can say one changes only, and now we can able to see the second drop down, which is a stage changes, and there is one file in the staging area. And now you can see the state previously which was untracked, now you can see added, index added, which means it is added into the staging area. So there is a command for this action also. We'll see the commands also in later videos. So currently we have one file in test. We have one file test.txt in the staging area. So now we have added the file. So next step will be to commit the changes. And before we commit, we need to ensure that for later when we want to revert changes, or when we want to go to older version, so we need to make sure that the developer will get the idea that what the changes that we have did. So in order to get the idea, we need to have some message with each and every commit that we perform. So first of all, let us write the message over here for the commit. So initial commit in test folder. So that's the message that I want to populate, or you can say that I want to record. So now if we press this commit, so you can see the changes have been committed. And if we go into the explorer view, so you can observe that this is a yellow, the color is yellow. And suppose, so so basically first of all, recall that what we have did, we have initialized the repository as a local, you can say local repository. Then we have added the file, then we have added the message, and then we have committed the file. Now suppose we add a new file. So this file was not previously, and we have added this file. So this file hasn't been tracked yet. So you can see the u, you can see u over here, which says untracked. Now if you go over here in source control, then you can see one pending changes, and in the changes drop down you can see this is untracked file. And suppose if we do the modification, we do some modification in test file. This is modification after first commit. And if we save the file, then you can see this file is marked with u, and this file is marked with m, and m is referred as modified. So it is a very great thing that it shows that this file is modified. And you can also see this, it is saying that this section of the file has been modified, and this is a untracked file. So now we have two, or you can say we have two changes in this changes drop down button. And you can see this is a U marked with U, and this is a marked with M. M means modified and U means untracked. So now what we can do, we can stage single file and then enter the commit message, or you can say we can also do plus for or to add both the files. If we want to remove this file from the staging area, then we can also unstage the file. If you want to open the file, then we can also open the file. And if you want to unstage all the changes, then we can also do that. And suppose we want to stage all the changes, then we can click the plus icon on the changes drop down itself. So all the changes will get in the staging area. And now I have said that we need to have message for each and every commit. So now let us give the message for the commit. Even if you don't enter the message, then also it will be committed, but it is a good practice to have message with each and every commit. So we'll say added new file and modified the test file, and let's hit the commit. And we'll observe, suppose there is a and M over here. A means added and M means modified. So when we click on commit, let's see what changes has been happened. So you can see from here there is no now changes, there is no changes in this source control tab. And if you go for explorer tab, then you can see there is no such marked over here, like say for an example previously it was untracked and marked, or you can say modified. So there is no such marks. So that's how you can use the version control system to record your changes. And now if you want to observe the history, then there is one extension you can probably you can search in extension git graph. You can install this extension in your Visual Studio Code, and now if you want to see that the changes that we have recorded in version control system, so you can go this tab, source control tab, and over here when you install the git graph extension from this extension tab, when you complete the installation, then you will able to see this icon over here which says view git graph, or you can say git log in bracket. So you can hit that icon and see this will be a list of you can say commit lists of the changes that we have recorded. So first we have seen that initial commit, and you can see all the changes commit. This is a has number of commit, parents none. These were the file that we have added. This is my email address, committer, this is my PC's name. You can see the date, time, and all the IST time, initial commit, test folder. And then also you can see the commit author, date, description of on the graph also. And the second commit that was added new file and modified the test file. We can also see this +2 -1, which means 2 insertion and 1 deletion. And there is a, you can see the changes also when you click on this file. First it was in previous commit it was 1 and there was a blank, and now this line was added if you see the history over here. So that's how it helps to record us the history of our software, and that's how basically the version control system works. So that was a demonstration of a version control system by Visual Studio Code, but with the GUI. In probably next videos we'll see that how we can do by commands, and we'll use, in that video we'll use the git bash, which is a tool which is a command line tool for you can see you can understand that we that all the action that we have performed over here with the help of GUI we can perform over here by command. Or if you don't want to use that git bash, then also you can control plus the control and backtick, and from here if you click git bash, then also you will end up having the same command prompt. Or you can say, if you open the git bash, then you can see anil at the rate hanu min gw64. So this same prompt you can see over here. So you can also give commands over here or over here. So we'll probably use the git bash, or you can say the bash terminal in the Visual Studio Code itself to demonstrate the thing. And we'll in next video we'll also use the GitHub, or you can say GitHub account, to create a repository, and we'll demonstrate the push pull actions. So thank you for watching this video. We'll probably meet in the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep exploring.